Westchester, Los Angeles, a suburb inside a city and the unofficial home of the kid with the lemonade stand. Historically, Westchester has, well, kind of just been there, minding its own business, buying a bunch of lemonade and Girl Scout cookies. And then all of a sudden, bam, it's on the map, hanging out with the cool kids, Playa Vista, Santa Monica, Venice. So how did this happen? Let's spill the tea on Westchester. Who lives here? Why the heck are people moving here? Prices, a little bit of history, and at the end, we'll take a look at the different pockets or neighborhoods within Westchester and see where the cool kids are actually hanging out at. All of this and a bunch of other fun stuff coming up. And let's start with a little bit of Westchester history. First, like most places in Los Angeles, it was farmland. And then in the early 1940s, the US enters World War II, which seems unrelated, but hang in there. Now they need a bunch of planes. Plane culture happens to be in Los Angeles. They build a bunch of factories, a bunch of people come to Los Angeles. Now they need houses, and voila, Westchester's built pretty much overnight as affordable housing for workers in the aerospace industry. And interestingly, the same thing that brought Westchester into existence has now been transforming it into a high-end neighborhood, except this time, it's the tech industry. A bunch of tech companies came to Los Angeles, Santa Monica and Venice got super expensive, and then the tech workers are like, whoa, wait a minute, what is this cool looking, somewhat affordable thing over here? Bam, it's Westchester. So why the heck are people moving to Westchester? Well, as I kind of mentioned earlier, recently it's been young families in the tech industry who are like, what? Crappy little place in Santa Monica, or nice house with a front yard and a backyard in Westchester, which is only a few minutes away. And well, that's how they end up in Westchester. Although this incentive of affordability is slowly fading as Westchester gets more and more expensive. But independent of this, ever since I can remember, Westchester was never really a bad place. It doesn't really have like the history of Venice Beach where it's like, I remember when back in the days this used to be a crack house. Yeah, not really the case in Westchester. So who lives in Westchester? Well, as we mentioned earlier, there's the kid with the lemonade stand. There's also his crush, Girl Scout cookie girl, which by the way, I really hope they hit it off. I mean, talk about a power couple. But anyway, the point is, Westchester's a kid-safe, family-oriented neighborhood, and it's kind of been like this for a while, which is why on one side you have middle-class grandparents living in 1,400 square foot houses, and on the other side you have younger, richer couples tearing these houses down to build 3,000 square foot McMansions. Circle of life. But now for the fun stuff, let's talk real estate. The median price for a single family home in Westchester is about $1.5 million, making it, in general, about 50% more expensive than Inglewood and about 50% less expensive than Mar Vista. Now, in the past 10 years, it's gone up in value by about 140% and about 240% in the past 20 years, which honestly is about average for the West Side. But as we'll see later, there are some pockets in Westchester that are performing well above average and are a lot more expensive than the median price. The thing is, Westchester's pretty big and not all areas are created equally. And as for condos, well, there's really not a lot of options for condos in Westchester. It's mostly single family homes, which is one reason why Westchester feels more like a suburb. It's a good balance of suburban and urban living. And by the way, my name is Daniel Rangel, real estate agent in Los Angeles. If I can be of any help, it would be an honor. But more importantly, if you like this video, make sure to hit like or subscribe. But anyway, back to the show. And now for the really fun stuff, the different neighborhoods or pockets within Westchester. Now, there's a bunch of different pockets in Westchester, but for this video, we're only gonna cover 3. 1, the most expensive, 2, my favorite, and 3, the best bang for your buck. But before we do that, let's check out or cover some cool conveniences in Westchester. 1, you got the airport down the street. So if you travel a lot, this is, well, super convenient. There's West Westchester Park with a library, tennis courts, basketball courts, and well, a bunch of other stuff. And right next door is an 18-hole golf course with a driving range. And again, you're also only a few minutes away from the beach and the popular West Side neighborhoods like Venice Beach and Santa Monica, which is likely going to be your go-to for nightlife and dining, as Westchester doesn't really have a whole lot of this. Although you do have the family-friendly Howard Hughes Center with some restaurants, movie theater, and other entertainment. And downtown Westchester is pretty well stocked with a bunch of stores to satisfy most of your shopping addictions. And important to note, Westchester does have an In-N-Out, which honestly should be sufficient reason to make you want to move here. But anyway, let's talk neighborhoods. Number one, the most expensive pocket of Westchester, One Westbluff, an HOA community north of Manchester Boulevard right next to Playa del Rey. And this is where you come to feel like the king of the hill. This area sits on top of a bluff overlooking the Bayona wetlands and Marina del Rey. So some of these houses have really cool views. There's several parks and walking trails in the community, and while it's not gated because it's kind of secluded with mostly one road giving you access, it does have the feel of a gated community. I mean, it's quiet, safe, and well, overall just like a pretty cool place to live. The median price for a house here is about $3.2 million with a low of about 2.6 and a high of about $4.4 million. HOA fees here are about $300 a month, and there's about 120 homes, so it's not a very big community. Most homes were built around 2006 as luxury houses, with the average home size being about 4,000 square feet. So these are pretty big houses. And neighborhood number two, my favorite, North Kentwood, located in the northern part of Westchester between Lincoln and Sepulveda. Now, there seems to be some disagreements on the exact boundaries, with all of a sudden now everyone claiming to be part of North Kentwood, but for this video and according to some experts, we're gonna say it's the section north of 80th Street, as I find a little bit more consistency and conformity with the houses in this area. Houses are typically bigger, the streets have more trees, and the general median price is about 40% higher than if you go south of 80th Street. The median price for a house here in North Kentwood is about $2.2 million, making it the second most expensive neighborhood in Westchester, and it's safe to say this is where the cool kids are hanging out at, including the kid with the lemonade stand and Girl Scout cookie girl. Now, on the low end, prices are around $1.5 million, with the most expensive house selling for almost $6 million, which historically is like an insane amount for Westchester. And while the general median price here is not the highest, you will find some of the most expensive houses here. And the general rule of thumb is that the farther north you go, the more expensive things get, which also coincides with little to no airplane noise. And while Westchester in general has gone up by about 140% in the past 10 years, the North Kentwood area has gone up by about 175%, which is definitely above average for the west side of Los Angeles. Now, another thing pushing property values up here is that this area has one of the best elementary schools in Westchester. Now, another thing to know that you typically won't find mentioned in most listings here is that this area is part of an HOA called Kentwood Home Guardians, but this is not your typical Karen HOA. The people here are actually nice and easy to talk to. The HOA is not as restrictive, and fees are only like $20 a year, which is practically nothing. But worth noting, there is an architectural review process, which is important to know if you're planning to do a major remodel. But again, nothing to be scared of, as can be seen by the architectural diversity in the community. They're pretty flexible. An interesting fact about this HOA, it is one of the first, if not the first, HOA in Los Angeles. And for more information about the Kentwood Home Guardians, check out their website, and I'll put a link in the description below. And finally, neighborhood number three, Westport Heights, located between Sepulveda and La Tijera, and I'm specifically referring to the northeast section, pretty much where the squiggly line streets are. Now, from the outside, from like the main streets, it looks pretty simple, like just a bunch of brick walls, hinting at nothing very interesting. People must be like, what's over there? Should we go find out? Nah, and they just keep driving away. But for those who are willing to adventure, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, what just happened? It's quiet, lush, tree-lined streets. Like, this is actually pretty cool. And you have some pretty interesting topography in the area. You have rolling hills, which means some of the houses have some pretty nice views. But if you're not into hills, the eastern section is relatively flat with nice cozy streets. The median price for a house here is about $1.5 million, with a low of about 1.2 and a high of about $3 million. And despite the median price being about $500,000 less than North Kentwood, the median lot size is actually about 1,000 square feet bigger at about 7,300 square feet, which is definitely above average. But houses are typically smaller here. It seems like the mansionization that has taken over North Kentwood hasn't been as profound here. But it looks like that's starting to change as people are discovering how cool this little pocket is. Overall, really nice area with a good bang for the buck. So in summary, if you want to feel like the king of the hill in a quiet, nice residential area that feels like a private community, you might be into One Westbluff. If you want to be where all the cool kids are, including the kid with the lemonade stand and Girl Scout Cookie Girl, check out North Kentwood. And if you want a portion of all of the above but without the higher price tag in an up-and-coming area, check out Westport Heights. And by the way, my name is Daniel Rangel, real estate agent in Los Angeles. If I can be of any help, it would be an honor. But more importantly, if you like this video, make sure to hit like or subscribe to get more Los Angeles real estate related videos, including more neighborhood tours.